Um, in modern college football, you've got 17-year-old high schoolers making like millions of dollars.
Yeah, it's wild.
Right. And the coaches recruiting them are literally going on the record, publicly calling some of these teenagers dead money.
Which is just unheard of.
It really is. So welcome to a brand new deep dive. We are basically stripping away the pristine corporate veneer of talent acquisition today.
Exactly.
We are heading straight into this unregulated, multi-million-dollar marketplace, one that operates less like a boardroom and, I don't know, more like a high-stakes auction house set inside a high school cafeteria.
It is the absolute Wild West out there. I mean, the sport has fundamentally changed overnight.
Yeah, and to make sense of all this for you, we gathered a pretty heavy stack of sources. We've got sports media articles, recruiting rankings, and like insider tracking data.
A lot of data to sift through.
Oh, tons of it. And we are focusing all of it on one specific case study today, which is the Texas Longhorns 2027 recruiting class.
It's the perfect example to look at.
Right, because if you are trying to figure out how modern talent acquisition works, whether you manage a sales team or, at a tech start, this is basically your blueprint.
Absolutely.
Our mission today is to decode how Texas head coach Steve Sarkisian is managing all the crazy realities of name, image, and likeness budgets.
The NIL money.
Yep, the NIL budgets, the fierce SEC rivalries, and the transfer portal, all to build a championship roster.
We are really looking at a masterclass in strategy here because football is played on the grass, but the reality of the modern game is that championships are increasingly won in living rooms.
Wow.
And through budget spreadsheets and via carefully calculated risk assessments. I mean, the off-field strategy is arguably more complex than the actual playbook.
That is so true. Well, let's jump into the actual players, because the narrative around Texas right now is all about this undeniable gravitational pull they have.
They really do.
Yeah. The crown jewel of this 2027 class is five-star cornerback John Meredith III. He's the #2 overall recruit in the entire country.
A massive acquisition.
Oh, huge. And the way he committed was just pure modern college football theory. He goes live on the Pat McAfee show.
Oh, yeah. Huge audience.
Right. And he had like 42 total offers on the table.
Right.
He narrows it down to this heavyweight brawl between Texas A&M, and Alabama.
Heavy hitters.
Yeah. And ultimately, he chooses Texas and drops this incredibly memorable quote for the cameras. He literally says, "The best stay in Texas."
It is a phenomenal soundbite. I mean, that is the exact kind of swagger a program needs to project to the rest of the country.
Totally.
But the underlying context behind his recruitment tells a much deeper story about how elite programs actually operate.
Yeah, I actually noticed that in the source material. It wasn't a totally smooth ride for him. There's this strange hiccup regarding his current status.
Right, his eligibility.
Exactly. Meredith's eligibility for his actual high school senior season is completely up in the air. Like, he transferred high schools, and the governing body ruled him ineligible for transferring for, quote, athletic purposes.
Which happens a lot more than people think.
But what really caught my eye is that this administrative red tape didn't deter Texas at all. Their cornerbacks coach, Mark Orphy, just kept aggressively recruiting him anyway.
Right, because at that elite five-star level, the high school senior season is almost a formality.
Wait, really?
Yeah, I mean, the evaluators already have his tape from his sophomore and junior years. They have his camp numbers, his sprint times, his agility metrics.
So they already know what he can do.
Exactly.
Right.
They know his ceiling. Missing a few high school games doesn't diminish his value to a college secondary at all. Plus, Meredith isn't just an isolated win. He is a strategic domino.
Okay, what do you mean by that?
Well, his commitment triggers a broader pattern we are seeing with Sarkisian's staff.
Oh, you're talking about the multi-commit days? I love this detail from the data.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
Texas seems to, intentionally stack these announcements to overwhelm the news cycle. On June 23rd, they landed 4-star defensive tackle Tyler Alexander and 3-star wide receiver Kyron Brown on the exact same afternoon.
And it's not a coincidence.
No, the sources point out this is a highly calculated tactic. Back in the 2024 cycle, Sarkisian engineered a triple-threat landing, Livingston, January, and Johnson-Rubel, all on July 1st.
Yeah.
It feels akin to being on a heater at a casino craps table.
That's a great analogy.
Like when the dice are hot, everybody crowds around the table and wants to throw down chicks.
Yeah.
But I'm curious about the mechanics here.
Right.
Is recruiting momentum an actual, measurable psychological phenomenon that influences a 17-year-old kid's life choices? Or is it just a convenient media narrative based on when teenagers happen to schedule their campus visits?
That is a really crucial distinction to make. It is absolutely a real phenomenon. But we have to look past the surface level idea of teenagers just, wanting to follow the cool kids.
Right. It's more than just a high school clique.
Way more. You are dealing with highly ambitious, hyper-competitive athletes who are basically looking at college as a 3-year business trip before the NFL draft.
Ah, business trip.
Yeah. So when a transcendent number 2 in the nation talent like John Meredith III says, I am going to Texas, he alters the economic math for everyone else.
So they see Meredith and think, wait, playing alongside him actually gets me drafted higher.
Precisely. It's the whole iron sharpens iron concept. I mean, if you are an elite wide receiver, you want to practice against a first-round cornerback every single Tuesday.
That makes sense.
And if you're an edge rusher, you want to play on a defense where the secondary locks down receivers, giving you an extra second to sack the quarterback.
Right, because NFL scouts flock to programs that stack premium talent.
Exactly. By clustering together, these recruits collectively boost each other's visibility and draft stock. It's a cascading social and economic effect.
Okay, that makes perfect sense for the flashy skill players like the guys intercepting passes and making the highlight reels on social media.
Sure.
But those highlight reel guys cost a premium, and acquiring them means you have to build an environment where they can survive. Because you cannot survive the SEC on momentum and flashy defensive backs alone.
Yeah. Definitely not.
You need absolute behemoths on the line of scrimmage.
You do. The SEC is an inherently violent line of scrimmage league. If you cannot stop the run, your 5-star cornerbacks will literally never even see the ball.
Wow. And looking at the data, Texas is executing a very specific quality over quantity strategy to get these massive athletes.
Yes, they are.
If you simply glance at the total class volume, Texas only ranks number 11 overall.
Which doesn't sound that impressive.
No, it doesn't. But if you filter that data by the average rating per commit, they jump all the way up to number 8 nationally with a stellar 90.69 average rating.
Which is huge.
Right. That average puts them 3rd in the SEC, trailing only LSU and Texas A&M. But crucially, it places them ahead of national powerhouses like Oregon and Florida.
Yeah, it's a very deliberate approach.
It looks like Texas is choosing to buy, a few acres of prime oceanfront property rather than buying up a sprawling tract of cheap desert land.
That analogy is spot on. To understand why average rating has become the ultimate metric in modern college football, we really have to examine the structural changes regarding roster caps and the transfer portal.
Yeah, it seems like the transfer portal completely killed the concept of the developmental player. Are coaches just adapting to a new mathematical reality?
They have absolutely no choice. Programs are limited to 85 scholarship players.
Right.
In the previous era, a coach might sign 25 recruits in a single class, fully aware that half of them would just be practice squad bodies for 3 years while they physically matured.
So they just sat on the bench.
Exactly. You had the luxury of time. You could afford to buy that cheap desert land and see if you could eventually strike oil.
But not anymore.
No. Today, if a player isn't seeing the field and getting meaningful reps by his sophomore year, he will simply enter the transfer portal and leave for a school where he can actually play.
So you really can't hoard talent anymore.
You cannot hoard developmental talent. The math dictates that you need 15 elite players who can contribute immediately.
Or at least be great backups right away.
Yes, provide absolute top-tier depth from the moment they step on campus.
Yeah.
You acquire the oceanfront property because you need to open the luxury hotel tomorrow.
That is wild. And looking at who they are bringing in, they are certainly building a fortress.
Oh, absolutely.
The defensive line investments are just staggering. They secured Cassie Curry, who boasts a huge 94.25 rating, and Jabarius Gare at 92.58.
Both incredible players.
Yeah, plus, we cannot overlook Tyler Alexander from that multi-commit day. He is a 4-star defensive tackle standing 6'3" and weighing 315 pounds.
A literal wall.
And in his high school season, he logged 46 tackles, 20 tackles for loss, and 2.5 sacks. On top of those stats, Texas actually beat out the Georgia Bulldogs for his commitment.
Which is a huge deal. Besting Georgia for an elite defensive lineman is a monumental rivalry win, especially considering Georgia's essentially dictated the standard for trench play over the last few years.
Right. But securing that oceanfront property, those blue-chip defensive tackles, it requires serious capital in this new era.
It definitely does.
Which leads to what might be the most intriguing and frankly unpopular philosophy we found in all of the source material. We need to talk about Steve Sarkisian's approach to managing his budget.
Oh, his perspective on positional value is causing quite a stir.
I bet. The sources highlight an appearance Sarkisian made on the Get Got pod. He lays out this hypothetical scenario where he is managing a $20 million revenue share budget for his roster.
Okay.
And he states clearly, I have to pay an elite quarterback, I have to pay a top-tier receiver or two, I have to pay a premium edge rusher.
Right, the premium positions.
But then he discusses paying top dollar for an 18-year-old true freshman left tackle. And he flat out calls it dead money.
Yeah, that made waves.
He argues it is totally unrealistic to expect a true freshman to step onto the field and successfully block grown SEC pass rushers to protect a highly paid quarterback.
It is a brutally honest assessment that really ruffled a lot of feathers in the recruiting industry.
Honestly, I have to push back on his logic here, though.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, if you publicly go on a podcast and declare that paying for young tackles is dead money, aren't you essentially gift-wrapping elite offensive linemen to your rivals like Oklahoma?
It sounds like it, right?
Yeah. If you refuse to pay his bodyguards, how you protect that $2 million quarterback you just invested in?
On the surface, it sounds like an incredible oversight. But when you really dig into the biological and economic constraints Sarkisian is operating under, it is actually a masterful read of the market.
Okay, explain the biological part.
Well, consider human physical development. Like a wide receiver or a cornerback, they rely primarily on speed, right? And lateral agility, fast twitch muscle fibers.
Things you can just naturally have at 18.
Exactly. An 18-year-old phenom can possess those traits naturally and immediately compete against 22-year-olds. But the offensive line, that is entirely about brute strength, core anchor, and technique against fully grown men.
So it takes longer.
Much longer. It takes multiple years in a collegiate strength and nutrition program to physically construct a body capable of moving an SEC defensive tackle.
Ah, so this is just a pure return on investment calculation.
Unquestionably, Sarkisian is staring at a fixed budget, paying a premium salary to an 18-year-old who biologically has to sit on the bench and develop for 2 years. That is a terrible ROI.
Right.
Why sink millions into a developmental prospect when you can take that same capital, go into the transfer portal, and buy a proven, physically mature 22-year-old veteran who can step in and protect your quarterback today?
Okay, that economic logic is totally sound. However, the sources actually present a wild contradiction to his stated philosophy.
Oh, they do.
Yeah, despite declaring it dead money, Texas just pulled off an incredible recruiting heist, specifically on the offensive line. They managed to poach four-star offensive tackle Brian Swanson away from the Oklahoma Sooners.
A massive grab.
This player is 6'5", 305 pounds, and ranked as the number 13 recruit in the entire state of Texas.
And pulling him away from Oklahoma adds an incredibly satisfying layer for the Texas fan base.
Oh, absolutely. Now, the sources do clarify Oklahoma's position to keep it in perspective.
Right, they're not collapsing.
No. The Sooners still hold the #1 overall recruiting class.
Yeah.
And they already have elite tackles committed, specifically Cooper Hackett and Caden Penny.
Yeah, they're loaded.
Therefore, losing Swanson is described by insiders as a missed opportunity for Oklahoma rather than a catastrophic disaster. But it hands Texas a player with incredible upside, and they are also hosting Ismail Kamara for an official visit.
Right.
The Sarkisian calls it dead money, but he is clearly still hunting the top tackles in the country.
Because a seasoned coach will never reject elite talent if the price actually aligns with their valuation.
Ah, I see.
Yeah, the philosophy simply dictates that he will not engage in a reckless bidding war and overpay for a developmental player. He will take the talent, but on his financial terms.
Got it. Let's follow that thread then. Say you run the ROI calculations, you allocate your budget perfectly, and you manage to get the player to say yes. You win the commitment.
Okay.
But reading through these sources, getting a yes doesn't seem to mean what it used to.
Oh, not at all. In the current landscape, a verbal commitment is frequently just a placeholder.
The psychological toll of managing these rosters sounds absolutely exhausting. Take 5-star wide receiver Easton Royal, for example.
A perfect example.
He is the #1 wide receiver in the country, the #6 overall player nationally. He is currently fully committed to Texas. Yet he is actively taking official visits to Florida and LSU.
He is openly shopping his services.
He is, and his quotes to the reporters are incredibly revealing about the pressure these kids are under. He admits the race is, quote, tighter than ever.
Wow.
Yeah. He says his decision is something to definitely lose sleep about. And he justifies the wandering eye by stating he is trying to make a choice that sets him up for life after ball.
Which Which is a very mature way for him to look at it, honestly.
It is. But the sources note that losing him would be totally devastating for the Longhorns. If Royal flips, Texas only has Brayson Thrower and Kyron Brown committed at the receiver position.
That would be a huge hit to their depth.
Yeah. But if you want a true case study in giving a coaching staff whiplash, look at the timeline of three-star linebacker Cade Hogg.
Oh, man. That situation encapsulates the utter chaos of modern recruiting perfectly.
It's so jarring to read. Hogg was literally on his official visit in Austin. He is taking the smiling photos in the uniforms. He is throwing up the Hook 'em hand sign alongside defensive coordinator Will Muschamp and linebackers coach Johnny Nansen.
Everything looks finalized.
Exactly. And then, mere days later, he decommits entirely.
Just brutal.
It leaves Texas in a very vulnerable spot. They currently have 0 linebacker commits for the 2027 class, like none.
That's a glaring hole.
They are heavily pursuing prospects like Joakim Gouda, who is the #2 linebacker available, along with Roman Igwebuk and Mikahi Allen, but currently the cupboard is completely bare.
Which is stressful for any staff.
Honestly, analyzing this verbal commitment process, it feels exactly like a relationship status on a dating app.
Oh, that is an incredibly apt comparison.
Right. Like, you might have that going steady label displayed on your profile, but no one is actually deleting the apps or stopping the coffee dates until National Signing Day when the ink is finally on the paper.
Exactly. And to really understand the mechanics behind this fragility, you have to look at how National Signing Day actually functions.
Okay.
A verbal commitment carries absolutely 0 legal or binding weight. It is merely a gentleman's agreement in an industry largely devoid of gentlemen.
Wow.
Yeah. Until a player signs their national letter of intent, which is a binding contract, they are essentially free agents.
Which means the coaching staff's job is never actually done.
Never. It creates a staggering logistical and emotional burden. Coaches can no longer simply recruit a player, secure a yes, and move on to filling the next hole on the roster.
Because that yes means nothing.
Exactly. They are forced into this grueling, perpetual cycle of relationship management. They must constantly re-recruit their own committed players every single morning to ensure they aren't swaying, all while simultaneously scouting and romancing backup options, just in case their star player decides to flip his commitment at the 11th hour.
The anxiety must be off the charts.
No, I can't even imagine.
But if you're listening to this and you're managing a business, whether that is a sports franchise, a tech startup, or just a local sales team, you are fundamentally dealing with the exact same math Sarkisian is working through.
That's very true.
You have a fixed budget.
Yeah.
You constantly have to weigh the value of acquiring someone who makes an immediate impact versus investing in someone with long-term potential.
Always a tough call.
Yeah. And perhaps the most difficult lesson embedded in all this data in today's highly mobile workforce, retaining your talent requires just as much effort, if not more, than acquiring them in the first place.
The parallels to the corporate world are just undeniable.
Totally.
And observing this extreme shift in how rosters are built raises a rather provocative question for the future of the sport.
Oh, what's that?
Well, if the recruitment of high school athletes has become this purely transactional, and coaches are openly calculating the ROI and dead money of teenagers on public platforms,
Right.
how long will it be before elite college programs just stop investing resources into high school recruiting entirely?
Really?
Yeah. Will we eventually see programs completely abandon the high school cafeteria and simply treat the transfer portal exactly like NFL free agency, dealing exclusively with proven adult commodities?
Wow. That is such a compelling thought to leave you on today.
Mm.
Will the chaotic, emotional roller coaster of recruiting 17-year-olds simply be replaced by a sterile corporate transaction in the portal?
We'll have to wait and see.
We will definitely have to watch the data and see where the market dictates we go next. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive. We will catch you next time.